Hey guys, it's me Ade back on Science Tree, and today I will be doing the first ever tutorial for this art tutorial series. And today I'm going to show you guys off to some cool shapes that we will be using in the series in the coming episodes to make like the shapes of the body, the face, nose, eyes, and etc. So the basic shapes, we're just going to dive right into it, are going to be, first of all, the most widely used is probably going to be a sphere. So this is a brand new sketch copy, and you don't need anything fancy like a cartridge paper copy, and also just a simple mechanical pencil will do. You can have a go with simple 2B, or which one is this? Is a 6B pencil. You can have a go with any sort of like drawing instrument, but I'd recommend you guys try a mechanical pencil because they're really easy to come by and really easy to just use in general. So today I'll be showing you guys some basic shapes. So first of all, let's start with the basic two-dimensional shapes. So we've got a circle. Obviously everyone knows that. Now this circle, we can turn it into 3D by just drawing. So imagine there's like two lines passing through it like that. So if you propel this outward, you can sort of get like a sphere effect like this. So this one is going to be probably the most widely used shape. I will give you guys an example in just a few seconds. So here's like a rough globe kind of diagram. Now if I were to turn it into a real 3D shaded shape, then here'd be my circle, and I'd use like a core shadow like this. It's like a moon. So now in the core shadow I'd have it super dark. I'm just going to do it super roughly right now, and then on the back end it's going to be a bit less dark because of the bounce light, and because light bounces from the bottom of the shadow as well. And then here will be, this is supposed to be for the values, which I'll teach after the anatomy series, but I just wanted to like quickly show you how you can turn any 2D shape into 3D just like that. So this is not perfect yet. I need to take some time. I'm just going to roughly fill it like this. So like by making the core darker, you can give it a 3D effect. Obviously most of you probably aware with that. Now another way of making a simplified sphere is to again do a circle, then just bring out two pieces out like this. So you'll use this quite often in our like face tutorials, also in the body. So if I were to make a face with this, I'd make like sort of like this, and then I'd have the eyes right there looking down, a nose, and then a mouth. There'd be the ears. Let's say we've got a hair. So just like that, we will use our sphere for the head in the upcoming episodes. So there's a quick sketch of the head using a simple sphere design, and similarly you'll use a sphere for like the rib cage and stuff, but this is not exactly going to be a sphere. It will be more of like an elliptical sphere. So imagine this be a sphere like that. So I can put two triangles right there to give it a rib cage shape, and I'll use some other complex shapes down the line to give it more of a human body-esque feature. So I'll be discussing about this pelvis shape as well later on. So right there's another two spheres for the shoulder, there's the head, and maybe for even the breast areas. It's basically most of the things are going to be spheres, so it's a really cool shape. You might want to practice this thing, like getting your mindset for the 3D image of a circle. We'll just make a bunch of these, and there's not really any perspective you'll have to worry about in spheres, so that's a bonus. So if I were to finish up this drawing, it would look something like this. Okay, so that's how we used sphere for the rib cage. Now let's use a cylinder. Now this is probably the second most used shape when we're drawing anatomy. So a cylinder is basically two circles joined by two lines. So this is basically like a rectangular shape, like this. Let's draw a proper rectangle, and then you roll it so it looks sort of like this, right? And then you keep rolling it and then turn it into a map, kind of like Dora's map, and there you have it, a cylinder. So basically it's like this, right? So this is very useful because while drawing this face as well, I've considered using a cylinder for the neck. Let's just suppose I did that. Let's say I have a cylinder for the arm, for the lower arm, for the bottom leg. So as you can see here, the cylinders don't necessarily have to be perfect. Like these lengths are very uniform, so you can just change things here and there a bit, like create a bit more conical one, or add another cylinder or cone shape at the top, like that. So yeah, basically cylinders and cones, you'll have to practice this together. So if you're completely new to drawing, then try practicing these shapes along with me, like these three shapes, and then get it in your head. So when drawing in perspective, let's imagine there's a box coming towards you. Now if I were to make a cylinder inside this box, it looks something like this, right? Now while shading a cylinder, it's pretty simple. You just make a core shadow just like we did with this guy, and then the back side becomes not that darkly lit, I mean brightly lit, and the front side becomes brightly lit, something like that. So that is how you do a cylinder. Now the next shape I'd like to talk about is going to be, let's do a cuboid or a cube. So it looks something like this in 3D. Now this is just a bunch of rectangles, so you might want to practice these things in 2D, and then turn them into perspective, which I'll talk about in the next episode. So don't worry about perspective right now. Now once you get these things in perspective, so imagine this is a rectangle in perspective, so this turned into that. So if you were to imagine that, you could draw two diagonals, and there you have the central line of this thing. So if I were to make a road, it would look something like this, right? So, and then there are buildings. These things I'll talk about in the next episode, where I'll teach you guys how to do perspective. So basically, to shade a cube, let's consider a light source coming from back there. So this upper part is going to be the brightest, and this one right at the opposite side of that thing will be pretty dark, like that. And this one won't be that dark. It will definitely be dark, but it won't be that dark. And let's put a little bit more right there. And to turn this cube into more of a rounder shape, you can like smudge out the center lines, like make a gradient like that, right? And then you'd have a more curved edges, so this will look like a dice. So you will obviously use these kinds of shapes later on as well. Now the final piece would be probably a pyramid, which I don't see anyone using too much. So it's basically just a bunch of triangles. You'll have to practice these, drawing these and then drawing these in 3D, so just like that. Now imagine a light source. Let's draw it from the bottom side. Look at that's a very poor triangle. Let's imagine something like this. Now a light source coming from, let's say, hitting right on this plane would create sort of a lighter shadow there and a bit more shadow on the bottom plane. So this is how you shade these things. Well, shading is not really the main purpose of this video, it's just to get you guys familiar with the shapes. So the basic thing you'll learn from this video is that the next videos are going to be far more important, and today was just a warm-up. So you just want to practice drawing shapes in 3D. So let's take for example cubes, drawing from the bottom, longer cubes or cuboids, just to be more literally accurate. And yeah, obviously the cylinder and the spheres are going to be far more important. I'm not satisfied with that face. Let me do another face to end the video off. Actually, there's one more thing I have to do. So there's the cylinder. I'll talk about how to make a face later in the series, but for now here's just a basic simple idea. And throughout the series I won't be using references because it's easier to teach things completely from mind, but I highly suggest you guys look up references if you want to draw these things properly. Also, I'd recommend you guys try out different tutorials on these things from other YouTubers as well, because I'm just a student wanting to teach my friends and people I know how to draw. So this is page 1, we've completely finished it, and let's draw one last thing. This body that I showed, it's got this sort of like a conical shape, so you might want to practice that. And then it's got this kind of cylindrical shape, you might want to practice that as well, it will come handy in the future. And then there's the hips. Okay, and then there's the pelvis, this triangular thing, it's like an underwear but in 3D, sort of like a box. So yeah, these are the shapes that you might want to consider in the future practices. Hope you enjoyed this video, hope you got some inspiration to draw and learn something cool. And if you did, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, cheer me on with the following series, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.